For this webinar recap, I'll be covering the ins and outs of report sharing and permissions. So the first scenario is the most common, and that is when you have a report in your software that is linked to an agreement that is already existing and on your dashboard. So if I just go to my dashboard here, so right here, this 123 webinar lane, it's a appointment I created today for this, and all that's there is the agreement, and I created that on the calendar on the dashboard. So that's already here. Basically, when I go to my software and I've downloaded that, I'll open up my report for my 123 webinar lane. The report's done, you know, I've completed it and done everything I need to do. And basically, this is how you upload and share it. You'll go up to the top and click on upload. Typically on a real report, I didn't take the time to fill this out. You know, you'll say all items have been completed, etc. But for the purpose of this webinar, I will just kind of bypass this pop-up that's letting me know I still have things to answer. I'm just going to say, yes, it's fine. I come to this screen here where I'll choose my full report for upload option. You'll see it right there. So just ensure that you have a check to the left. After that's done, you'll click OK. You'll get your lovely, you know, print preview here. And then once you've reviewed everything, you'll click upload at the bottom. You'll get this pop-up that says, hey, do you want to go to your dashboard now? Select yes, so you can view your uploaded reports on your dashboard and send emails to your customers. Basically, it opens up your browser for you. You'll see your uploaded report, and it'll kind of look like this. You'll see where it says send emails here. Right next to send emails, you have two different hyperlinks. You've got one that says inspection report and one that says agreement. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice your inspection report document here and your customers added and your agent. Nothing is going to be here. You're going to have question marks under allow. And then, of course, your agreement's already been sent out. Once the document's uploaded, all you need to do is just go to where it says send emails, and you'll click on the blue link for inspection report. But once you click there, it brings you to a page that says send email notifications. And I'll point out a few things here. So you'll see this column down the left-hand side, and it says send emails with a question mark. And then right below it, there's a box that's not checked. If you hover over that box, it will say select or deselect all. Everything's kind of automatically selected, or I can unselect. So just wanted to explain what that box is for. Same with the view and the forward. There's a box here for select all or deselect as well. But back to the send email column. So for clarification here, this is a really good, important point to make. If you want to send an email to somebody for this purpose, sending out the report, you do need to ensure that the email right here is correct, and that the check to the left, the box to the left has a check next to it. So that's what indicates if that person with that email is going to get the email notification. So that's a little bit about the send email column. A little bit further on this page here, on the right-hand side, this is where you'll find your column for the report document viewing permissions. So if you want your clients to see the report, in this case, it's the report that we're trying to share. With this interface here, we need to give viewing permissions to the report, either by doing the select all or individually selecting the box for view for our first client, same with our second client, and same with our agent. This is a common mistake that people make. They think, okay, well, I'm just sharing the report. I don't need to share the agreement. I've already done that. And somebody might uncheck the agreement, and that's a big mistake. That causes a bunch of issues. Once you uncheck or select any of these viewing permissions here, that's what kind of sets the permissions across the board for that person. So if you are sending out the report and you give viewing permissions to the report, you want to keep the viewing permissions for the agreement document, especially for the home buyers. You know, maybe they haven't signed it yet. Maybe they have signed it, but they want to go back and be able to look at it. You know, so you want to just keep the viewing permissions set for the agreement. It's a little not intuitive because you're sending the report about the inspection report. But just so you know, permissions and forwarding permissions, these two columns here, they're kind of across the board. So the viewing permission column here, kind of an easy way I like to do that, because typically on most inspections, you want to give viewing permissions to pretty much everybody, but the agent, you might want to remove the permission for the agreement. If there's a seller's agent in this list, you might want to remove them as well. For speed, though, I think a lot of people will use this. They'll do the view, which is a select all, and the forward select all at the top, and then they'll just go down to the documents that they don't want to give permissions to. For instance, like the agent here, they don't need the agreement permissions. And so you just kind of remove those, and it's just a little bit faster. So for forwarding, the column for forwarding, if you don't know what that does, basically it's a really cool feature, and it allows the client, when they're viewing the report, up at the top, they have an option to select share. And when they select share, it brings them to a page where all they need to do is put in the email address of the recipient and then click send. They don't have to go through all the rigmarole of downloading the report. Let's picture a person is on their phone and they want to share it. They don't have to download the report, open up their email, attach the report to the email in some form, compose an email, type stuff out, etc. They don't have to, take all those steps. And then HomeGauge can track that, and we can actually notify you. We do notify you when a third party has viewed your reports, and it's all tracked in the history, every document. So it's really cool and it's very convenient. That's what forwarding is all about right there. It's just an easy way for clients to forward. But for now, we've got pretty much everything selected and it all looks good. Our inspection reports have permissions and forwarding. And then we'll move to the bottom here, and typically you'll just click send emails, but let everybody know that if you scroll down, you'll see what the email looks like. So you'll see the subject, the top emails for the buyer or the seller. Here, it has the code to bring in the recipient name. Once you hit send, it fills it in, just so you know. And then down here, you'll see some information about, what report they're accessing. It will populate their username. Once you hit send, it populates a password only if that password is not a custom password. So due to privacy and security, our system will never populate any kind of custom password that a user would create in plain text in an email. We do send out an auto-generated one in the beginning, and they can customize it and change it. So if their password has been changed, instead of password, it will have a link here to reset their password. And it's very easy, and it's very typical of most username password reset experiences. It just brings you to a page to reset your password, and they can just log in with that. The next email down, that one goes for the agent. But I just wanted to share, that part with you. We're not going to dive into email notifications or anything like that. Pretty much at this point, all you do is click send emails. So right now, at this point, we've done everything. It's been successful. But I'll go back to all reports, and if we look here, you'll see that under inspection report, everybody's been sent the report and everyone has viewing, everything looks good. With the agreement, still have viewing permission, so that's what allow means. It just means basically viewing, yes. We're pretty much done with the most popular scenario where there's an appointment booked and it has an agreement, and we're uploading a report from the desktop software and sending it out, uploading a report that already has an agreement. Jamie asks, will they be able to view the report even though it's not marked that they have paid or signed? No, they can't. You can't pass go unless you follow the next steps. So you can't view a report unless the agreement has been signed. And then for payment, there is an option to allow people to view a document even though it's not paid. Most people don't use that option. It's kind of a weird scenario because, then you have to go and collect payment and that can get awkward. So most people actually use the feature where you can check off don't allow viewing unless payment has been received. And with HomeGauge payments, our credit card integration, that automatically happens. So a buyer will log in, they'll sign their agreement, they'll get the opportunity to pay online securely with their credit card. And then as soon as they do those two steps, voila, the report is released, and it can be in the middle of the night and you can be sleeping and you don't have to hear about it. They have access. So it's a cool system. Well, we'll move on to the next scenario. It's just a little bit different and it should go pretty quickly. So the next scenario that's typical would be just uploading a report that does not have an agreement on the dashboard. So this is just one that doesn't. There are some people who they do other kinds of things. I don't know why, because our agreement system is really nice, but for whatever reason, everybody's situations are different, and that's fine. You can upload just a regular report that was created in the desktop. When I mean desktop, it's for people who also use Companion, because no matter what, if you're using HomeGauge Companion, you always have to upload your report from the desktop software. So this report here does not have any kind of agreement on the dashboard or appointment. We'll just do the same steps there. Click upload. I've got my full report for upload right here. I'll click OK. Got my lovely house there. OK, upload at the bottom. Get that pop up to go to my dashboard to send my emails. And there it is. So this is the report that doesn't have an agreement. So all you see here is inspection report. And you'll notice as well, right here, instead of send emails with the two hyperlinks, like you see down here where it's send emails, you've got inspection report or agreement. Up here, there's only one option. So you just click send emails. Same kind of situation as we explained before, so I will show you kind of the fast way. I can just click view and forward if I want them to be able to forward it. I also highly encourage everybody just take a glance at the names and the emails and make sure they're logically matching. Okay, so send notification emails, looks like everything's good. We just click send. Same kind of notification results here. Everything looked good. Go back to all reports. And this is kind of what we want to see. Basically, allow and sent. Everybody's got everything and we're looking good. All right, so we'll move on here and we're going to go to WebWriter. Webinar lane, that is a report that has an agreement already on the dashboard like we already saw. So for this, we'll just click into that report. For WebWriter, instead of using upload, it's already on the World Wide Web. You're actually just going to click publish. You can also, I think most people will actually go to preview first and check it out and then click publish. So there's two spots to click publish. Most folks will preview first and then click publish. Here you get this pop-up. and you'll click publish one more time. After that, you'll click view report. Once you click view report, it takes you to your dashboard to see your report. You'll see 99 Webinar Lane now has the inspection report up at the top, agreement at the bottom, and then you just go through those same steps where you click inspection report, double check that the emails are correct. So this one I set up specifically just to show you how a second email might sneak in there. And this is usually from a past inspection that was done back in the day. There might have been somebody who had a partner and they added another email. A long, long time ago, we used to have 2 email spots for customers and we removed that. So we're trying to encourage everybody to have their own. So if you're the person who's here, this should be your email. And then you'll see here that this is not automatically selected. We never automatically select the second email. You have to consciously actually make that effort yourself. But just be aware you're not one of the folks who does send email to everything. When it comes to send email for the actual, the select all, I always advise not to do select all for send email because you could accidentally select just quickly without realizing it, this extra email that you're not really intending to send an email to. So just be aware of that. One thing I do like to inform folks, if you do see an email that doesn't quite match up to the username, it's a second email, just shoot us an email and let us know and we'll take care of it. A little PSA on that. And then once you're done kind of setting your permissions, you'll click send emails. So that's how you send out notifications and share for WebWriter when there is an agreement. And then now we'll go over how to send out a WebWriter report that doesn't have an agreement. This one right here, I don't have an agreement. I'll just click on it. It's the same process. You can preview, click publish, publish one more time, and then view report. You'll notice something different about this. You'll notice that there are no clients or agents below. So you can't really send anything. For somebody who's using WebWriter and did not use the appointment manager and create an agreement and all that, your screen's going to look like this and you have to add in your client's email and information here. And this is how you do that. So you go to plus user. You can click add new customer. If it's an existing user, you can start to type their name and it will pull up people from your existing Rolodex. To add a new customer, you just click the plus sign there for add new and then type in their email. Putting in a fake email, I'll hit continue. You have to enter in a few things. The ones with the asterisks is what really matters. And then I can just scroll down here to set the permissions, whatever one I want there, and then I'll click add contact to report. Tony's been added. Permissions are already set, but the email isn't sent. So typically you'll just go and add the agent at this point. Everybody's added. The same process goes for if later on down the road on any inspection report, whether you use WebWriter or HomeGauge desktop, if you ever need to add an additional user or remove a user, you do the same thing by just using this plus user here. And then you can always do minus user to remove anybody. And then once your people are added, you'll just go to send emails. Everything's kind of already set, the viewing permissions, and you'll click send emails one more time. Go back to all reports and you'll see that everything is kind of lined up here and good to go. Okay, so there's a question from Jamie. There's an issue when a report isn't connected to the calendar. It will pop up first rather than the agreement and the payment. It appears that after they have viewed it once, it will lock it until signed and paid. I just had someone call last year who never signed and the report wouldn't open. Yeah, so best practices is to do everything through the calendar. And just remember, If you book on the calendar, always go to HG Services and download your online appointments. Every now and then I come across people who do book on the calendar. They send out agreements, they add payments, but then they start a brand new report and type out all their information from scratch. And then that way things are not connected. You know, when they upload the report is usually hanging out by itself like this, and then the agreement is hanging out by itself, and so they're not connected together. So just always remember, if you're using the calendar, to go to HG Services and download your appointments and then open them up, and it saves you a bunch of time because it fills out all the appointment details. You don't have to type out the name and the emails and the address again. Same with WebWriter. After you book your appointment, always go to your calendar here, and if you click on it once, there's a little plus sign here. And if you click that plus sign, it sends that to the WebWriter and starts an inspection for you and connects everything. So the next topic is going to be just viewing permissions. We'll just start with this one here. So if you click under viewing, there's some different options here. Viewing and then clicking send notification emails. It's the same thing as clicking this. You also have a quick link to schedule those TRMs. The one right here in the middle, the third-party email, we had a question earlier about that. So that is when somebody requests that you send an email for the report to somebody who's not the buyer or the agent. Maybe you get a request to send it to an attorney or maybe the seller's agent. I don't know, somebody who's maybe not on here as the buyer or the agent. So to do that yourself, you can go to viewing third-party email. Here, you give it a password, anything. It can be super easy. It can be the address. It can be the person's last name or their email, something that's not too difficult to type in. So I'll just say Susie. I'll scroll down a little bit. I'll put in the email address for the recipient. And then basically, you just scroll down to the bottom and click send email and set password. That person will get an email and it will say, hey, you've got an email for a report to view. Click on this link and put in this password. And they'll do that and they'll have access. And when they do have access, you're notified. So under where it says history, I don't have anything here because I haven't gone in to actually see anything. But under third-party notifications, it will show if that person has actually clicked and viewed and logged in to, or not logged in, but put in the password to see the document. It also kind of works the same if a customer shares on their end. You'll see that here under third-party notifications. You'll also see who was the person who sent it. So right here, I was the one, so it shows the inspector sent it. But if an agent shared it third party, it would show their name, or if the buyer did, it would show their name.
Susie, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So on the third-party email, thing that's always confused me, so when you click on the third-party email and then that pops up about the password, it has that little warning that says that you highly recommend that we do not change an existing email. So you're talking about the one we sent to them previously, or?
So the third-party email is for somebody who's not the who's not part of the list on your report. So when you're sending a third-party email, you're not sending it to Tony or Amy. For a third-party email, the report is not going to anybody's account and it's not going to stay there. So Tony and Amy have separate accounts that they log into. And Amy, being a realtor, will have a bunch, and she wants to go back and see all her reports. So it's really great that her report is shared with her account. Tony, maybe he's a home buyer and he'll want to go back and he might want to use some of the features that we have, such as being able to pay for it, using our create request list, those kind of things, and be able to constantly go back, and maybe he has other properties and whatnot. So these two have an actual account and the inspections will always show there, whereas third party, it's just a hyperlink to a password protected web page, and the web page is only the report, it's nothing else. and it can be removed too. So when you go to third party, you put in the password here. I always suggest something easy, like maybe the address or something like that, or usually the address is the best, because this password basically goes to this password protected report. And if you share it with another person, so let's say that you share this third party email with somebody that was requested by the buyer, like an attorney. Let's say the address was 123 webinar. The address is pretty good. So 123 Webinar Lane. And you go ahead and share that out. Send email, set password. Now, if, like, let's say the client wants to go and send out an email and share it with maybe their, I don't know, their family, and they want to say, hey, take a look at this home inspection of the house I'm buying, and they want to share it third party through their dashboard. I'll show you what that looks like. A client, and all right, so I'm Tony. I just logged into my account. And I see this, again, this is one that didn't have an agreement, so it just kind of allows me to see it right away. I'll click on inspection details. I can view the report. And then up at the top where it says share, if I click on that, I just type in an email. I don't fill out anything else, but you'll notice that the password is right here. It's the one that you created originally as the inspector. So it says 123 Webinar Lane. It's the same password to whoever it's being shared with. I'll click send email. And now this person, my family member, now has a link where they can log in, put in the password, and they can see the report, and it's tracked by HomeGauge. So if I go to history, it'll show here that, you know, Tony, the customer, sent it to Maria. And then I also sent it to myself here. But basically that password under viewing third-party email, let's say that I don't want anybody to see it anymore. You know, I'm just like, I can actually go in and change this to whatever. I can do change password and change password only. So now all those people who were shared that report via third party, they can't see it anymore. It won't allow them to have access. And if you really want to take it away so that future versions of this report are not shared, if you go into viewing and go to edit permissions, just take away the forwarding options and hit set, so that, you know, the buyer doesn't go in and try to reshare again. And you know, if they do reshare, it will give that new password. So just remember, that's kind of like a twofold thing. If you're trying to take away third-party viewing, change the password, and then take away the third-party permission for that report.
Well, thank you, because that has always been one of my biggest confusions, because that pop-up that says, we recommend you don't do it, the way that reads, I was under the assumption that it was saying that that was going to change the original password.
Yeah, so it's changing the original password of the third party email. So if you have a password here and you see it there, most of the time, if you see a password here, you don't really want to change it unless you're intentionally trying to take away viewing from a third party email. I'm going to show you another example here, other person's account, and I'm going to go to inspection details. Okay, so I'm here, I'll go to view report, and I haven't gone through and I've not shared this with anybody as the inspector as of yet. So if I'm back here and I go to that report with Ashton, I go to viewing, third party, you'll see that there's no password there right now, right? If I'm logged in as her and I want to share it and I click share and I, you know, send it to whoever, I'll put in their email address. You'll notice that there's a pre-populated password. So HomeGauge, if you as the inspector if you've not set a password yet, or there's not a password already, you know, decided, it will auto-populate a password for the client. they just put in the email and they click send email. And we'll go back to your inspector dashboard. And this is what it looks like. If you go to viewing third party, you'll see that that password is pre-populated. And so that's the original password, or just the password for this report document. So if you went and changed it and created your own, whoever Ashton was sharing it to wouldn't have access to it anymore. So kind of best practices, if you see a password there, let it be, unless you are intentionally taking away viewing permissions from somebody. Most of the time, you're probably fine by letting, you know, whoever have this third-party email because your client had sent it. And you would know in the history who that went to, and if it looked fishy, you know, you could go in and change all this. But yeah, hopefully that clarifies everything for you. Okay, so Jennifer is saying sometimes there's an existing third party and we don't know. Okay, so with third parties, we'll go back here to our inspector dashboard and just know that under the history link for whatever documents.
And it'll come back and say current or existing customer, but they won't be mine. So I won't have any information on that, but then it struggles to let me send it to them because I don't have their info.
Okay, so that must be not in the third party. That must just be in the regular notification emails, because third party, it doesn't kind of check our database at all. It can just go to whoever. Is that right? Does that seem correct? It's like when you're actually, it's somebody under here, like a client, an actual person that has an account. Is that right?
Yeah, I know the last one I had to go in and change because with the email address was already in, but she had gotten married or divorced or something, so the name was different. But yeah, that was for forwarding the report by request from the client.
So forwarding the report using this, the third-party email, this doesn't check any of our database kind of information. I can test it out because I do know that, you know, I'm in here a gazillion times, Susie at HomeGauge, and, you know, it will just send, and it doesn't try to ping any database information in HomeGauge at all. Like it doesn't actually require a username and password. It's just a password that can go to anybody. So the third party, that wouldn't be the typical scenario. But if you are, let's say that it sounds to me like you're having
I was adding, not third party.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody else on the call. Third party, it doesn't matter. You can send it to anybody. It's never going to say, you know, this person already exists or what have you. So yeah, so if you click on plus user and let's say that we add a customer and that person is one of my gazillion usernames and passwords. I'll just do my legit one here. I'll click continue and it says, yes, there's an existing HomeGauge account for this email address. If the information looks out of date, you can request that contact update their information. So that's just alerting you that somebody with that email address has used HomeGauge at some point in time, which is totally fine. We've been around for 20 plus years, and so it's very common. And so in this case, you just kind of scroll down and maybe the name isn't correct. Maybe it's Susie Wallace, like my real name. And you see Susie Smith or something like that. And basically what you can do is we try to make it easy so people can update it, and you can do request updated information. And it basically sends them an email that says, hey, your inspector is using your account or your email to send a report to, but would like you to update your account information. And it gives them a hyperlink that basically takes them to where they can update it. Let me look up my email to show you what that looks like.
So they're the only ones that can update their info. We can't do it on our end.
No, so you can't update their info if it is their account. So if they've logged in, you know, and they have a username and password, you can't update it. It's just kind of like, you know, I can't go into somebody's Google account that I'm sending an email to and correct their last name because I know that their last name really is their maiden name, or something like that. Like that, just privacy laws, wouldn't be a thing. So you send them an email and they can update it. So that's an easy one. I will point out, this was one of the troubleshooting things that I was going to share with everybody. If they've never logged in ever, and it's like a brand new person, trying to find somebody in here. For example, these are new contacts I just created today. They've never logged in, they haven't viewed it. This has a question mark. Let's say that you find out, hey, this person did change, or not did change. You found out later on that maybe you got the email wrong, or maybe you spelled their last name wrong, or something like that. If you click on their username link there, they might have the option to edit their info. So if they've never logged in, you'll get this edit rep info or edit buyer info or customer info. And if it's there, yay, you can fix things without calling HomeGauge support or without having to email them to update their own. You can click edit rep info. And here you can do a number of things. You can change, basically, it's like changing the information that you added when you first started the process of adding them as a customer. So you might have made just an easy mistake and put a dot where there wasn't a dot. And if you scroll down to the bottom, this is a weird thing here. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll notice that there's an asterisk on the agent one for company and an asterisk under state. If you don't know the company, maybe just put a letter or a dot or something just to make it look like that field is complete. That's just one little thing. On a buyer, company doesn't matter, but state does. So that's just something to look out for. Go down to submit, and it's updated the information to change that email address or username or whatever you needed to have changed. Again, that's only if they have never logged in before. This one was a common scenario that happens when people have multiple accounts. This happens a lot to agents. Let's say that an agent, you book, an agent uses you and they give you a business card. You've never used them before, so you do the normal thing and you put them through the system and create an account for them. And you have no idea that they already have an existing account from another email. And then maybe the agent says, hey, I can't log in, or I'm logging into that account, but I don't see all my other inspections. Give a call to HomeGauge support or send us an email and let us know who that agent is, their current email, and their username. So we can look them up, and our staff, we are great at merging accounts for agents so that they don't have 1, 2, 3, 4 accounts. We've got like a strategy with it, and we keep the agent informed of what we're doing, and we basically ask what is the username that you're used to, because they might have it saved on their browser to log in, and so we'll honor that and merge the reports so they're all together. So if you ever come across an agent that says they have multiple accounts or things like that, or maybe you yourself, you know that they have multiple accounts because you've actually put them in unknowingly, and you can see them on your contact list. So you can go to contacts, real estate pros, and maybe you have, see here, I've got Susie agent like a gazillion times. If you see that and the agent, wants to combine all their accounts, so that's a common one as well. Unfortunately, it's nothing that you can fix. You do have to reach out to us. Yeah, it's just something you can't do. If you're resending out an email, this is another common thing that I just want to show real quick. Let's say that you've got a bunch of customers here, and let's say that Logan wasn't paying attention to their email. Maybe it went to spam, and everything's just flooded with a bunch of emails, and he's like, hey, can you resend that email? This is a common example of how people get permissions taken away. You'll go and you'll say, oh, of course, I'll resend that email. You'll click inspection report, and you don't want to send it to Ashton, so people make the mistake of unchecking this and all these. You don't want to do that. If you're just trying to send an email to one person to resend, whether it be they just didn't get it and it needs to be at the top of their email box, or maybe you had to go in and adjust something in their contact, just uncheck the people who are not supposed to get it, leave all their permissions, and then hit send. So that's a common thing people do. They'll uncheck everything, including permissions, when trying to resend an email, and it becomes really hairy and all types of messed up. So hopefully that will help you out in the future as well. Under viewing, there's an option to make a report public. This is kind of one of those situations where you don't want to use it too often. There's a few scenarios where you would. We highly encourage to not make things public, because if you do, the reports are indexable by a search engine, and that just basically puts your clients' personal information, their new home, all their new home's issues out there for the world to see. And somebody can search and find that information, and they can, get your client's name, so email address, stuff like that. So we don't want any of that out there. The reasons why we have some reports available to make public is for convenience for you. If you would like to share a sample report and put it on your website, you can do that and share it with just a nice hyperlink. And of course, when you're sharing a sample report, you remove real information, no real customer information, not a real address. But I will show you, if you go to edit permissions, this is where you can modify permissions without having to send an email. So this is where you can, let's say that you did make the mistake and you did remove permissions for an agreement on accident, and your client's like, I can't get in. Your screen might look like this, where, hey, you've sent your report and you gave all the viewing permissions, and they're like, I can't log, or I can log in, but it won't allow me to sign the agreement. If you scroll down and your agreement has the columns for allow with question marks, but it does say sent, then you know that that mistake happened. You accidentally unchecked viewing permissions, probably just in a rush while sending out your emails by mistake. When you're sending out a report, people often are like, I'm not sending the agreements, I'm going to uncheck them. But that's the wrong thing to do. So easy to fix though. So if you see that, you just go to viewing, edit permissions, and then you can do all if you want, just to save some time. Hit set permissions, call your client or send them a text and just say, hey, everything's good. I just had to adjust a permission setting, log back in, and you'll be able to see your agreement, sign it, and then see the report. And one of the more common scenarios that we see when people are like, I can't access my agreement, I don't see it. It's saying I don't have permissions. How can I view the report? It's saying I need to sign the agreement, but it's saying I can't. So that's like a super common scenario. Just go down to your agreement and check the allow. And if you've got those question marks, easy solution, just go to viewing, edit permissions, change them here, click set, tell that person they can log back in. They don't need another email. And you can send another email if you feel like it, but they don't need it. They can just log back in with the same information, and they'll be able to sign their agreement and move forward. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.